I genuinely appreciate the nice, easier day of day 22. This has been good. I really appreciate this. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. I just woke up and I just want to go back to bed. If you're new here, my name's Ash, I'm 27, I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast, and on this channel, we go over TryHackMe walkthroughs, capture the flags, events, and all sorts of hacking along our ways to cybersecurity professionalism. On today's video, we're going over day 22 of the Advent of Cyber TryHackMe challenge. For any other detail like playlist timestamps and links, see the description. Otherwise, let's get into it. All right, we're at the tail end of our event with just 3 days left. I'm a little bit behind as it is the 24th in North America. It's actually the 25th of December here in Australia and when these challenges get released. So let's go over day 22, attack surface reduction. All right, so we have Simply Cyber's video walkthrough for day 22, so definitely check that out. And this challenge is about improving the security posture of our network here, learning from the recent attempts to disrupt the network. So we're gonna be looking at a low effort, high value change to improve the security posture significantly. So we'll be learning to understand an attack vector, the concepts of the attack surface, and some practical examples of attack surface reduction techniques that we can utilize. So first up, attack vectors. An attack vector is a tool, a technique, a method used to attack a computer system or network. If we map the attack vectors to the physical world, attack vectors would be the weapons an adversary uses, like swords, arrows, and hammers. An exhaustive list of examples of attack vectors in cybersecurity includes the following. So phishing emails, which we know and we've seen in this room and others, denial of service, sending so many requests to a website that it reaches its limits and overwhelms it, web drive-by attacks, flaws in web browsers that compromise security of the victim just by visiting the website, and unpatched vulnerability exploitation. So finding some internet facing infrastructure such as a web server and exploiting the infrastructure by some vulnerability that's unpatched. Next up, attack surface. So this is the surface area of the victim of an attack that can be impacted by an attack vector and cause damage. Taking forward our example of the physical world, the attack surface will include unarmored body of a soldier, which an attack of a sword, an arrow, or a hammer can damage. So in cybersecurity, the attack surface will generally contain the following. So an email server that's used for sending or receiving emails, some interfacing web server that services a website to visitors, end user machines that people can connect to via a network, or humans can be manipulated and tricked into giving control over the network to the attacker through social engineering. Attack surface reduction. So we're going to notice that the attack surface cannot be eliminated by short of running away from the battlefield. It can only be reduced. So the Greek phalanx is an example of attack surface reduction, as seen in the picture. So the front of the defending army is covered by their shields, whereas the walls of a pass cover their sides, leaving no room for an attacker to inflict damage on the defenders without running into their defenses. This is how the Spartan army could hold back a much larger Persian army for several days in the Battle of however you pronounce that. So, however, this attack surface reduction works for the weapons of that time. This technique will not impact the attack surface against modern weapons. So for us in cybersecurity, the most secure computer is the one that is shut down and its cables removed. However, that's not feasible running critical operations dependent on computers. So therefore, leaders aim to keep the operations running with the lowest possible attack surface. We can consider the goal as creating the digital equivalent of the Greek phalanx. So our last section is examples of attack surface reduction. So now we understand some of the concept behind attack surface reduction. Let's identify the attack vectors that could be used against SAN's infrastructure. So we have close the ranks. So we have a website that's been defaced earlier. When investigating that attack, McSkitty found that an SSH port was open on the server hosting the website. This led to the attacker using the port, that open port to gain entry, and then we close the port, so putting up the shields. Although the open SSH port was protected by a password, the password was not strong enough to resist a brute forcing attempt. So we implemented a strong password policy to make brute forcing difficult. Moreover, a timeout would lock a user out after 5 incorrect password attempts, making brute force attacks more expensive and less feasible. Close the flow of information. So we were informed by the team that the GitHub repository that contains sensitive information, including some credentials. This information could be an attack vector to target Santa's infrastructure. This information was made private to block this attack vector. Moreover, best practices were established to ensure credentials and other sensitive information are not committed to GitHub repos. Beware of deception. So another attack vector used to intrude into Santa's network was phishing emails. So McSkitty identified that no phishing protection was enabled, which led to all such emails landing in the inbox of the employees. So phishing protection was enabled. The email server could filter out spoof emails and phishing emails. All emails identified as phishing or spoof were dropped and didn't reach the employees. Prepared for countering human error. The phishing email that targeted the employees contained a document containing malicious macros. To mitigate the risk of malicious macro-based documents compromising the infrastructure, McSkitty disabled macros on end-user machines used by employees to avoid malicious macro-based attacks. Strengthen every soldier. McSkitty wanted the attack surface reduced from every endpoint's point of view. So far, she had taken steps to strengthen the network as a whole. For strengthening each endpoint, she took help from Microsoft's attack surface reduction rules. 3 of these rules were built into the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint product. She took help from these rules and created a similar set of rules in her own EDR platform. Lastly, make the defense invulnerable. To further strengthen the infrastructure, McSkitty carried out a vulnerability scan highlighting some vulnerabilities in the internet-facing infrastructure. McSkitty patched these vulnerabilities found on Santa's interfacing infrastructure to avoid exploitation. So after implementing these steps, McSkitty was a little relieved. However, she understood that though her attack surface was reduced, she still needed to be vigilant to avoid any incidents. Come back tomorrow to see what other steps McSkitty takes to strengthen her defenses. Alright, so this is kind of like a little bit of a reflection over the whole challenge of the advent of cyber. So this is kind of nice. So last up, we've got following the instructions in the attached static site to help McSkitty reduce her attack service against the attacks from Yeti. Use the flags as an answer to complete this task. Okay, so with all this knowledge, let's go and view the site. Looks like we have a simple drag interface here. So let's line up what we've got. So attack vector, we've got Bandit Yeti has identified an open SSH port on Santa's website. So the first one that popped out was unnecessary ports are closed to avoid attack attempts, because we are answering the actions that can take. So I'm going to say that one, meaning we don't need this port open, so that should be closed. So next, a document file with malicious macros is opened by a user. So what action could take in? So this one down here, we've got security policies are implemented to block macros on the network. All right, next up, some sensitive data related to Santa's server is found on a file sharing website. So this first one here, sensitive data from the file sharing site is removed to avoid Bandit Yeti taking advantage of the data. Next up, spoofed phishing emails are sent to Santa's employees. Down the bottom here, we've got phishing protection is enabled on Santa's email server. Second last, password brute forcing attack is attempted on Santa's network, so we can have a strong password policy. And then lastly, the employees find a USB flash drive in the parking lot. After he plugs it into his computer, malware installs on the machine, so we can have an app blocker deployed on the network wide to block execution of unknown devices. So there is our flag. We can copy that, paste it in. So that'll do us for day 22. I genuinely appreciate the nice, easier day of day 22 compared to the difficulties of day 19 to 21. This has been good. I really appreciate this. We've technically only got one more day to go, day 23. So if you're enjoying the series, thank you for watching, and thank you for getting through this video. If you feel like leaving a like, I'd really appreciate it. It helped me. Also subscribe, ding the bell and all that good stuff. I'm gonna let YouTube recommend a video just for you, plus the playlist to the other videos in this series. And I will see you in the next video, day 23.